All right, all right, all right, all right. Just clapping it up for myself tonight. It's the 11th hour tonight, but for me, it's way beyond the 11th hour because this has been one very long day. So starting this early this morning, you get up, check emails, listen to WVON every morning, and I kind of, get into my work day. But today, on the third Wednesday of every month, we have our executive board meeting with the SBAC. And then this is also the day that I do my Hyde Park Happy Hour event. And today we had Cook County Assessor Fritz Kagi there. It was a great event. But the long day of getting together for all of that in the midst of a 2-hour-long, very intense meeting, and then coming home and wanting to do this program tonight just because it'd be so much on my mind sometimes and things that I want to share, especially as we get ready for the masterclass, which you can find out about and sign up for by going to DwayneHurst.com. So today I really wanted to talk about emotions. And as entrepreneurs, and when you're in your own business sometimes, especially when things are going well, people tend to think and treat you as if you do not have problems and issues and things of your own. But they don't always know the mental gravity of what we do sometimes when we go into entrepreneurship, especially, again, and then the way you experience these things that I'm going to talk about are going to be relative to where you are on your own journey. For me, being a person who has been involved in before and still possess a lot of very ambitious things, projects and different things that I'm working on or starting or formulating or got written down somewhere, you're always thinking in this broad space. So, last Saturday, I went and did a panel discussion on access to capital for the Chicago Inventors Organization. Shout out to Calvin Flowers, who's also a Simeon grad, but he's the president of that organization. And inventors are really special because inventors are not necessarily entrepreneurs. They create the products that you, as an entrepreneur, might be the one to go out and sell. So the first thing that all of us have to tackle, and it might sound a little bit cliche, has to do with fear. Just simply the fear of, getting started, fear of going out on your own and being independent in the work you do, where every decision that you make is on you and it's built around your ability to earn money. That could be a tough place for people to be sometimes. So not only are you afraid to get there, but once you get there, there's a new level of fear that you got to be opened up to. So what happens if things don't go well from the start? Then your fear of failure kicks in. That fear that says, well, what will people think of me? Social media kind of gives us all a little bit more to live up to in an odd sort of way because we don't want to be seen failing. We don't want to be seen making big announcements about things that we're doing and then all of a sudden it doesn't work or we're off into something else all of a sudden. So that's not really what we want to do, but that fear of failure cannot suppress you. You cannot let that push you down. You have to drive through that fear. Fear is only really there as a reminder to you that a danger exists. And it's really a defense mechanism for you to really tell you to get off your ass and get things done. Because when you live inside that fear, any of these things, any of this fear that we talk about, the best way to deal with it is just to attack it. When you watch the horror movies, whether you watch the old Freddy and Jason that I grew up on or other ones like the Saw and all these, the people who always got past the killer were the people who attacked their fear. The people who showed no fear when it was time to get down, they were scared at first, but now they done figured this shit out and they ready to go and they go and, at the end, they win. And that's more than just a storyline. That's built around the reality of the fact that if you attack that fear, you attack the fear of poverty, the fear of not having anything. You attack it, you can beat it. But then there's another fear. This is one that a lot of entrepreneurs don't really see coming unless you've read about it along the way, and it's the fear of success. Because it's one thing to say, hey, I'm about to do something great. It's another thing to experience what happens when it starts to succeed. Every win that you get, we had a beverage company. So in the beverage business, every time you start a new account, it's like, hey, we were in over 100 Walgreens stores. So you're like, hey, we're in another store. But every new store creates another expense because you got to market in that store. You got to send somebody to the store and spend fuel and all these other expenses to get the product to the store. And then you got to hire people to sit in there and do the product samplings and different things like that. That's one level. That's an administrative level of the add-on that success sort of brings. But in terms of your fear, what it means is that you got more to live up to with every one of those wins. Because now it's not the corporate manager or whoever taking credit for your wins and building a company on your wins. It's you building a company on your wins, accepting accolades from people. And now people are demanding more of you. Hey, we want you to be here. We want to see you over there. And you're getting invitations and all these other things. And some people implode under that. Now, you might feel like that's not you. But the only way you'll know that is if you ever been tested to the degree, if you only been tested to the degree where you have been under that sort of trial, where you got the biggest thing in your life going on and it's going very well, and you step up into managing that. But again, that's done by attacking it. It's just done by attacking it. You know, that emotion alone is difficult to manage, and I typically try to talk people through it when I see them in that, because fear, it manifests itself in very unconscious ways, and it comes out in the way you make decisions, and you make decisions essentially against yourself and engage in acts of self-sabotage because you don't always really want that. Part of it is because of some of the other things that we go through. So think about this, and I'm going to tie this fear piece into excitement. So excitement is when you know that it's in front of you, you're doing it, you're getting it done, or you're well on your way to do that, and the road is clear. You're excited. You start to share that excitement with other people. Do they feel the same way you do about it? Are they as excited, or do they just kind of go, man, you know, your mom, your uncles, your aunt, all the people who you think are going to be so proud of you and going to shower you with love and affection and support, don't do that. Other people in the business community, people, friends of yours, and people you expect to be there and share your excitement, don't always do that. So how do you handle that? Some people don't handle it well. They hating. You know, we tend to revert a lot of times to that people are hating on you. No, it's really not that. They just don't fucking understand you sometimes. And that's what it boils down to, and take me through this cycle. Sometimes they just don't understand you. Sometimes your ideas are bigger than the people you're hanging around. Sometimes they're bigger than the people who you think are beyond you. I'll give you an example of something. We tend to measure people by how much money they make in what they do. So if, you're making 20, 50, 150, $75,000 a year, and then you're going into your own business and you're doing all right, you're looking up to the guy who making a couple $100,000 already and kind of moving and grooving and making things happen. You're looking up to him. But you got an idea that he can't see. You always see these examples of how the student or the lesser one leapfrogs the teacher or the bigger one because they come at a crossroads over what the vision really is. The people who see that and don't believe it or don't understand it, they are not hating on you. They just don't understand. And because the energy that you put in the hate is such, and into thinking that people hate you is such a negative emotion, let's turn that around and let's use it as a motivator to say this. I'm going to show you what this is. I'm going to prove to you that I can get this done, that this idea works, and that this thing that I put together can happen. I'm going to show you that. And your motivation daily is to do that. And that means, but going through that, you can't procrastinate, because if you think somebody hating on you, the last thing you need to let them see you do is slip and sit down on your ass, right? And that's why in previous discussions, we talk about, the immersion of yourself in what it is that you're doing. This is a big weekend this weekend. You got the Sundress Festival, the Silver Moon Block Party, and the Pitchfork Festival, a whole gang of stuff happening. How many of you are going to be at home working on your dream while the rest of your competition or the people who you see as your opposition or your haters, while they out partying? Are you willing to do that yet? have you overcome the fear of the dedication that creates? Because everybody gonna ask you, man, where was you at, man? You wasn't there. I didn't see you, man. They expect you to be there. And I just might be there for at least for a little while. But they expect you to be there and you're not. And now everybody want to know why. And now you got to explain to them that you got something that you're working on that was more important than that. Sometimes you deal with people that are petty and they say, well, you think you better now. You know, as you start to come up through these things and your thought process starts to change, it starts to differ from friends and people in your family that have historically had jobs. It's very difficult for them to see the context of what you do. It's very difficult for, unless you can really do an effective job of imparting that vision on them, it's very difficult for you to expect them to see it. So I got to the point where I just stopped telling people. Just stop. Just stop. You know, if you got a girlfriend, a wife, a lover at home, and you know, you come home after a day, let's say like today for me, right? I come home on a day like this, I got all these exciting things going on, new ideas. You come home and you tell somebody all this stuff, and then they kind of react like, yeah, all right. And they don't engage that dream. It creates issues in relationships sometimes. So if you're with someone, you got to make sure that you have a real conversation with them about your ambition, your business, show them the reality of what is there to give them an opportunity to decide whether or not they want to continue on. And that will make your life a lot easier in relationships. So you don't end up mad at the person who's not supporting you. So in a previous marriage for me, I had to come to realize that when I've decided to become an entrepreneur on a different level, it was a change. It was something that everybody didn't sign up for. And it was a big change. It changed me. And when you change as a person and your spouse or your significant other is not coming along for that ride, you got to really, really, really be careful to avoid the traps that creates in your relationship. And that type of emotion can kill your drive to build that dream, to build that business, because sometimes they don't know that they're the one that you're building it for. They don't know. But you got to be good at expressing that. And all of this leads me to my third point, which is loneliness. So I'll show you how excitement can transfer into loneliness. At the invitation of the Illinois Black Chamber of Commerce, I was invited to Washington, D.C. to meet with an ambassador from the nation of Botswana, Africa, to talk about the beverage, the product that we had, Premium Energy. This was in 2012, I believe this meeting took place in D.C. And, you know, I'm going straight from the airport, going to another meeting at the National Black Chamber of Commerce, and then walking through DuPont Circle to the Botswana embassy. So I'm walking in here and I'm already blown away because I'm actually in an embassy of a foreign country talking about business. They don't understand it. I know nothing about this. This is a whole other story. But this is me overcoming my fear because I was doing this in a business that I knew nothing about a year ahead of this time, 2 years ahead of this time. I really didn't know nothing about beverages from the business standpoint. And here I am walking into an embassy about to present this to an ambassador talking about doing business in another country. So we get inside. The lady is absolutely wonderful. Her name was Tebelelo Seretse. And so when we get in, I got some samples that I brought, you know, for her to try. And she tastes the drink and she's like, oh, this is so good, so good. And she says, listen. And she sits up and lays out for me the plan of how we would build a plant to manufacture this product in Botswana and then release it strategically into the rest of the African continent for sale. Now she's going through this and it's like you see on a cartoon or something, like she's talking and after a while her voice just blacks out. I can see her mouth moving, but I can't hear what she's saying. All I'm saying in my head, I'm jumping up and down with all this excitement in my head and I'm trying to stay in my seat. Like, is this fucking real? Like, am I really sitting here? Is this shit really happening? You'll find yourself in a place like that, especially if you came up like me where, you know, life for me ain't been no crystal stair. So I have not always had a real expectation of being able to find myself in these type of places, meeting with these type of people. That just ain't the way I grew up. It ain't the way I came through my high school years. I didn't have collegiate years and my early business years or whatever, or working in corporate America. I ain't had no expectation that the best thing I wanted to do is meet the damn boss or the company the owner of the company I work for. That was where my ambition was at the time, and here I am sitting here, and I blacked out. So when everything kind of came back together, that was the conversation. She had a gentleman there who, you know, kind of like was her handler and took care of everything in between Botswana and here, put me in direct contact with him. Now I leave there, and the next day go to what they call the changing of the chair ceremony for the National Black Chamber of Commerce. Dignitaries and ambassadors from all over the world, particularly in Africa, were there. Everybody's talking about me and this product. She's telling people about it. The ambassador from Botswana, John Rogers, was there. I mean, I was like really, really so high. I had to learn how to manage that emotion of excitement and pull it down. And just pull it down. You know, you have to develop the resolve to alter an emotion when you feel it overtaking you, whether that's anger, whether that's sadness or discontent or depression or whatever. You got to find a resolve to change a context somewhere that gives you the energy to move forward. So when I go back after all of these wonderful things in DC, I go back to headquarters to tell my business partners about it and give them a briefing on it, and then we can start, you know, kind of figuring out how to make this thing work. We already own the formulas. That part was done. They would, we had to send product over there for them to test it for their food regulatory authority. She talked about the wide expanse of other opportunities there. So I was gone mentally. I go back and talk to these guys, my partners at the time, and there was several of us, which is a big problem. And that's a story I'll tell another time. But they didn't take that news the way that I expected them to. I expected them to pounce on that like, oh, yes, boom, boom, boom. Now, this is something that has the potential to move faster. Even though we were developing in the States at a rapid rate, this was like a huge, like a straight up bam. It was easy for us to use that and leverage that to get investment capital on this other side. But they had nowhere near the level of excitement that I had for that. And to be honest with you, at the end of that, I found myself at a very lonely place. I started to feel like my idea of this was so much bigger than everybody else that nobody was going to understand my point of view. That's a lonely place to be in. I was talking about those inventors earlier. Can you imagine having a product that you believe can either just help people on a simple level or change the world, and you go sometimes years and years and can't even tell nobody about it? You can't even tell nobody about it, and you holding in, you just had these big meetings, and these other people that signed non-disclosure agreements, they know about it, and they're working with you on it, but you got a lot that you have to hold in and keep to yourself sometimes. And if you do think you got these so-called haters or just people that don't want to see you successful, the last thing you need to be doing is talking about what you finna do. Oh, I'm finna be over here, I'm finna be over there. Don't do that. Don't give people an opportunity to apply their negative energy to your circumstance. Don't let them do that to you. Don't let them change the field around your enemy. There are secrets that must be kept. There's things you got to keep secret. You cannot tell anybody, because if they don't, for one, you don't want them spreading the word. But I got to the point where I'm just saying straight up, if you about negative energy, I don't want shit to do with you, period. See, remember, if you were listening last night, I said I played this game from behind. And because I didn't come up like this in our car, I'm playing from behind. After losing out on an opportunity like the one I had with Premium to do all this shit that I'm telling you about, we were doing, I'm playing from behind. I'm playing catch up to what I know was sitting in front of me. So there is no time for me to play games with people's emotions and how you feel about what the hell I'm doing. I'm doing it. I'm committed, whether I want to or not. And that's really why I'm on here tonight, because I'm committed to giving you information that can help you and giving it to you in kind of a real world me to you type of way where you can really kind of grab it. You know, some of what I'm going to talk about in the masterclass is going to be from an institutional perspective, where you quote studies and talk about and read from different things, like we read about the 17-second rule last night, and I wonder how many of you guys tried it. But a lot of what I talk to you is going to be kind of raw and gritty from the business that I know that I've done over time, and the many, many, many people like you that I've run into across all of my years of networking. I've seen and I know how it works. I know how to make it work. It's not about, for me, it's not about any product. It's got to be the right product. It's got to be the right thing. It's got to be ownership involved. That's why I made the move to eXp Realty. Agent ownership is the wave of the future, but I need to be working on something that I own, that I'm invested in, that I own, period. That's just my mindset. So when managing emotion, I have to think about it. Fear, I'm cool on that. The fears that I have are very much manageable. They don't relate to the fear of failure. I'm definitely not afraid of that. I'm not afraid any longer to succeed. And I have learned to embrace the loneliness in a way where, the lonely part is this. I used to walk into a room full of people thinking to myself how I was going to change all of their lives. And then one day I would be remembered for that. I think that's a noble ambition. You walk in and you feel like I'm going to change all your lives, but I can't tell none of y'all how I'm going to do it. I can't talk to you about it over a drink, but I'm going to feel good in my head knowing that there you are and I'm about to impact your life. So you have to just find different ways to frame things and make them more comfortable for you. And fear is kind of like that as well. You can turn fear on its head real quickly. And I'll tell you a story real quick. And it's kind of unrelated to business, but it's really serious about fear. I used to be a security guard, believe it or not. Little old me, I was a security guard at a Walgreens store on 53rd and Ashland. And I was the guy at the front door when you were walking out with, if somebody was walking out with something, how that thing goes beep, 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 beep. It's called a checkpoint security system. And, somebody trying to steal, you got to get at it and basically police the situation. And I was unarmed. And one day, it was in the afternoon, this guy come in. It's kind of warm outside. This dude, he's a big guy already, come in with this big ass coat on, right? So people were telling me, because when the store is busy, I'm standing by the door, people telling me like, hey, he over there stealing. And this guy is taking like, not just a pack of gum, but the whole pack of packs of gum and like stuffing them in his coat, because it was a corner store down the street. They were buying from him and then they can do the woo-wop or whatever. So this guy, the law says you gotta wait till he's walking out the door, that he has to walk past the cash register before you can approach him about the theft. At least he said that. I don't know if he still does say that at that time. So he walks past the thing, and I step in front of him. This dude is huge, man. I was like, I don't want to deal with this right now. And he pushed me, boom. And I came back at him, and I wrestled this dude. Basically, I wrestled this dude, and I got him on the ground. And when I got him on the ground, and we tussling in like this interlock of doors they had, I heard him wincing, like, like. And then I realized, man, this motherfucker's just as scared as me as I am of him. And at that point, I attacked him and locked and handcuffed him and dragged his ass to the back. Little old me, because I attacked the fear. So the principle of attacking fear is the same in all your areas of life. That's not a business story, but that's about attacking fear. And sometimes you find when you attack it, it flees from you. It runs from you. And I'm sure that there's 100 scriptures that can lead you to that same conclusion. But we talk about that, but we don't always see where it applies in our life. And I promise you, on this road of entrepreneurship, it will. So I promise I wasn't going to keep you guys long tonight. Again, I'm really excited about being able to do the masterclass, because for a long time I wanted to get a lot of this stuff out of me and let it go, because I've been holding on to a lot of what it is that I wanted to tell people, but it's things that are very private, because some of that shit is just real embarrassing, man. When you realize you was that close, man. When I tell you how close I was doing something that you're not gonna believe when I tell you, then you'll understand what I mean by that. So now I'm ready to let that out, and I need to let it out to you. DwayneHurst.com. Go to the master class, take a look at it. There's a series of classes. If it's just one of them that might better apply to you or that you're available for, pick that class, sign up today, and make yourself available to see what it is that I'm looking to discuss with you. So thanks again. I know it's getting late, and again, it's the 11th hour, but don't make the 11th hour your last hour. Keep working. I'll be up. You stay up. Let's stay up together, and let's get it together. Peace.